everybody, to Fantasy Football Picks and Bets, the recap show. This is our week one recap, talking about all of the fun games that we had on Sunday. And my goodness, I don't think I could have asked for a better week one coming into 2021. It was absolutely insane. But first and foremost, everybody, I'm going to lead off with this. We are presented by Prize Picks. So go to prizepicks.com if you haven't signed up already. Not too late. Go do it now. Use that promo code MMN because you get your deposit up to $100 matched. And it's been a busy, busy weekend. It's been a busy day, like super busy day. So in order to help me talk about all of these games, all of the action, and all of the weirdness that happened is my buddy LaQuan Jones. Thank you. I love you. Hearts and kiss you faces
going
emojis.
On? What a week. What a week one. It's in the books. A lot of great games, a lot of surprises, a lot of drama, a lot of fantasy drama.
Yes. Like a lot of my girlfriends and actually girlfriends and guy friends are like, oh my God, I love The Bachelorette. I love Survivor. I'm like, I love football because it has everything. It is a reality, dramatic type of thing all day. It's an all day affair. And it was absolutely crazy. But before we get into kind of the fun stuff that happened, there were some injuries that are pretty key that happened this weekend. And first and foremost, Jerry Jeudy suffered a high ankle sprain. Oh. That sucks. But the x-rays did come back negative. So there is some silver lining to that news, which is a good thing. But it looked really bad. Deontay Johnson also went down, and then he went to the medical tent early, and then he miraculously came back in and scored a touchdown. That was a sigh of relief. Thank goodness. And OBJ was inactive, even though all systems were pointing to him starting, and he did not. And that was quite a game, which we'll touch on a little bit later. What am I missing, LaQuan? Because I feel like my eyeballs are bleeding and my brain is coming out of my ears today. What did I miss on the injury?
I'm going to add in the healthy scratches that we had this morning with
right?
Zach Moss. Zach Moss out for no apparent reason, and Trey Sermon. That was just nuts. I didn't know why they were healthy scratches. And I mean, the replacements picked up. We had Mostert go out in the first quarter as well with a knee injury. Yeah, sidelined him for the rest of the game. So, Hasty and most importantly, Elijah Mitchell stepped up, was able to showcase his talent as well, putting up big points on the board for a lot of fantasy managers.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that Mostert one. That was awful because I did a live Q&A this morning for Mayo Media Network presented by Prize Picks, promo code MMN. And it was when we heard about the Trey Lance news, because everyone's telling me in the chats, it was like, oh my gosh, fire up Raheem Mostert. Yes. The cherub started singing. The sunshine came out, made it even hotter than it is already in Florida. But you know what? I won't complain. And then Raheem Mostert goes out. And I don't think he understands that you don't have to run through human beings.
Yeah,
but he does
protect your body at this point because you have
a terrible
injury history. No, it's just like Deebo Samuel. He's another guy that he's just very dangerous. He just runs straight towards the linebacker. Protect your body, man. But he also had a great game, though. I definitely want to mention that before we get too much into the fantasy guys.
I totally do. And I was trying to be super nice, y'all, to our producer, because I was like, oh, we're going to talk about the games. We're going to kind of go in order from what's on the website. And I'm lying. I'm a fraud. I'm full of lies. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into that game because that was pretty exciting. And for anyone who doesn't know me, I am by default a proxy Lions fan, although it is in protest because I don't like the Rams. And where this goes, I know you have Rams stuff. I'm going to be that's why I'm being honest with you, LaQuan. I will not hold your Ram fandom against you. See, this is how that works, right?
I love
Jared Goff then going to the Lions, and then Matt Stafford, my favorite person, going to the Rams. I'm really kerfuffled about that whole situation. I don't like it, but you know what? I was impressed. Seems a little hard word for me to use. It's a little bit too much, but I was impressed with how well they tried to come back and pull a Matt Stafford fourth quarter comeback, which they could not do, by the way, because Jared Goff is not Matt Stafford, just so you know.
Yeah, I don't think he has that.
So you know. And I'm super excited to see him play tonight, even though he is in Rams. But I will overlook that. But let's jump right into that game because we had a lot of injuries, like you were talking about. Raheem Mostert was out. Trey Lance was a scratch, which was awful. We had the that helps no one people score touchdowns like Elijah Mitchell and Jermichael Hasty, who did have a few productive games last year because of injury. And TJ Hawkinson. Hi. He's a really good tight end.
Yes. he ended up finding the end zone. That was very, warming to see that he's doing exactly what we thought was going to be happening all offseason. We've been talking about it. He definitely was the best pass catcher out there.
Hmm. Whoa, hold on. Pause. Sorry about that. So a commercial just went in through my earbuds. So I was learning about CoverGirl vegan makeup, which it does not help us for what we're going on here. Anyway, yes, Hawkinson is amazing. Sorry about that. This is what happens when you have AirPods in and ESPN decides to play commercials. It's very irritating. But on the other side of the ball there, Deebo Samuel, okay? Like
Yeah.
also someone who likes to run through human beings instead of around or whatever.
Around, yeah.
Crushed it today. Absolutely crushed it. And what I found really interesting is that he still managed to be super successful with both Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. Like they did the whole alternating back and forth and it worked. Maybe because it was against the Lions. But I'm just saying, there did have this mad scientist look, did have some kind of a thing to it. What do you think on that, LaQuan?
Now, Deebo Samuel has always been the guy that I've been targeting later in rounds because Wonder Boy Brandon Ayuk didn't show up. Apparently, he was dealing with the slight hamstring injury before the game, but he just was not present. He just wasn't present the entire game. And it's kind of been a thing where Deebo Samuel, Kittle both on the field where Ayuk doesn't really show up. He doesn't become that big target that we all seen last season finishing up the back half because, again, Deebo Samuel and Kittle were hurt. So it's kind of like Deebo was doing exactly what we expected Deebo to do.
Yeah, that was it. But I hope it lasts because Deebo is one of those. I don't like the word injury prone. I don't like that.
He doesn't take care of his body.
No, it's very upsetting. So that I really liked that coming from the Lions. And then just on the running back side really quick, because I have been telling a lot of people not to fade DeAndre Swift, to just to be careful and to temper your expectations.
Cautious. Yeah.
And he and Jamal Williams both had a very productive day, which I thought was awesome because I like both of those players so much. So if both of them can be fantasy productive moving forward, I'm really cool with that option and not being worried about one or the other. What do you think about that?
I love it. I love that they were both equally used in the passing game and in the running game. I mean, Jamal Williams was basically out there doing everything he could to be the starter running back. Swift limited, even still popped off 24.4 fantasy points to Jamal Williams 25 even points. So I definitely think PPR formats, they both can coexist. This is probably like the Kmart/Walmart version of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, but I'll take it. I definitely love it. I love that they both can coexist in that offense. And again, there's not many wide receiver pass catchers there that will take the targets away from the two. So I'm full sending both of them.
I like it. So let's move on to a different game here. Another one that stood out to me really, really hardcore, and not for its awesomeness. Sorry, Eagles fans. This is nothing to do with y'all. But where did the Falcons go? Did they know they had a game today?
No. Nope.
Nothing. Oh, what is happening?
They stayed home.
They did. Or they were like zombies and like sleptwalk through that entire thing. There was hardly any offense. It was terrible.
Matt Ryan did not look good, honestly. He did not look great in decision making. And I think we're starting to see the effects of no Julio Jones. And Ridley is still a baller. Ridley still was out there catching everything thrown to him, basically doing everything we expected. But overall, Matt Ryan did not look good. Kyle Pitts was very underwhelming, of course, being that, he's a rookie, he's a tight end. We had to start looking at him as a tight end. He had the very underwhelming stats of a rookie tight end. So it is what it is. But I definitely think the biggest factor, the biggest miss here is Russell Gage. He was non-existent.
I know.
Non-existent. He was not there. It was very disappointing for that entire offense, and hopefully moving forward, something changes.
Yeah, I agree with you, but that it was very depressing because there's a lot of fantasy opportunity there if they can gel and click and get this moving forward. One of my really good friends is a Falcons fan, and he was at our house watching the game, and he was just sulking inside, and he literally did not talk to anybody until it was time to leave. And until it was time to leave, and he said bye. I was like, oh, bye. It was very sad. It was very sad. But then on the other side of the ball, we had Eagles fans at our house as well, and of course, all they do is complain. Again, no offense, Eagles fans, but it's like, oh, we suck so much. And they ended up coming away with the win 32-6. I thought Jalen Hurts looked fantastic. So this was great.
Yeah, on the ground, through the air, he looked great. I mean, the connection with him and Smith is looking like something beautiful waiting to happen. I definitely think, Dallas Goedert went out there and did his thing as well. Zach Ertz, something to note with that tight end situation. Zach Ertz kind of wasn't there either with very little
Mm-hmm.
targets, very little volume, and Dallas Goedert just kind of walking away with that tight end one position. So that's definitely something worth noting.
Yeah, and I'm curious because I've heard a lot of analysts fading Dallas Goedert, and I don't know
Yeah,
why. Because he did really well with Jalen Hurts when he was starting last season. So I don't understand that, and I still don't get it because I love Dallas Goedert, and I think that he is a great tight end starting for you because Jalen Hurts
yeah.
obviously trusts him, and I think that's great moving forward. I'm going to touch on two quick games here, Laquan, and then I'm going to turn it over to you to have the floor, my friend. But another one that really stood out to me here, which on paper was kind of like, but the Bengals and the Vikings.
Oh my
Okay,
God, overtime.
that was our overtime game, and
Yeah.
like Joey Burrow, welcome back to the NFL. We missed you, my friend. And
Yep.
he managed to make not only Jamar Chase, but T. Higgins both fantasy relevant, which
Yes,
was
he
pretty
did.
awesome. And Joe Mixon even got involved. This looks like a completely different kind of offense from the Bengals than we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
And I mean, they won actually. Yeah, they right. They beat the Vikings. I forgot
Yeah.
about that. There was like some weird kind of situation with turnovers there in the overtime, which was kind
Yeah.
of absolutely nuts. But again, that's kind of like free fantasy points there. But they did get the win over the Vikings. It
Yep.
just seems like there's some good chi going on there in
Yeah.
Cincinnati, which I absolutely
Good
love.
vibes.
Yeah, and I'm gonna move on to a next game unless you want to say something. If not, I'm really bossy and I'm just gonna
No,
yell
I
here.
mean, we can move on. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It was a very good
Boop
game. Overtime, boom.
boop. I'm so Alexis from Schitt's Creek. Can you tell I stayed up till 2 a.m. watching this last night? Probably. So the last one I want to bring up is I was really looking forward to this game, and it's the Jets Panthers with that huge revenge matchup
Yeah.
with Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson going up against the Jets.
No.
This was a really fun game, and in fact, all of these games were fun except for the Falcons game. That was not fun to watch. I
No.
didn't because I watched the Red Zone, and ergo, I didn't see any of the Falcons game except Young Koo, who did a great job. Other than that, I just know the Eagles did well, and I
Yeah.
don't know where the Falcons went. But this game was very exciting. I loved watching every single minute of it because it was kind of like return of Sam Darnold, and he gets to get in there and kind of be like, I am actually a good quarterback. And he connected
Yeah.
with Robbie Anderson. Christian McCaffrey, he didn't find the end zone, but I think he scored like 3,000 fantasy points.
He did his
Welcome
thing.
back to the NFL as well, my friend. It was
He almost had 100
absolutely awesome
yards.
to see. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
Zach Wilson did great.
Yeah.
I understand they didn't win, but he looked poised and he was getting crushed. Like he was literally getting flattened. So
Yeah.
I feel really bad for him, but his cute, adorable Abercrombie and Fitch face still there, still intact, all teeth in place. But I think he did really well too, and he found that connection with Corey Davis, which I've been, pounding the
Yeah.
ground for because I love that connection. And
I
it
love
was
it.
good. It was a good game. There's a lot of promise there with Robert Saleh and Zach Wilson there.
Yeah, definitely. I think the only loser out of this was Elijah Moore. I definitely think it was like rookie jitters, and Zach Wilson had a slow start. So I think by the time the game, it was a little tied up. Things were, shifting to where, Corey Davis was just hot. Everything was just hitting, and then Corey Davis scored. So it was just like
Mm-hmm.
Zach Wilson was just making safe decisions. And I think that definitely helped out for him to finish with at least 22 fantasy points. So it was actually good to see Sam Darnold get his revenge and had the connection with Robbie Anderson downfield like we always knew they already had. So that was just it was a good game. It was definitely heartwarming that Sam Darnold's putting that stamp out there. The Adam Gates curse is gone, so he's able to step up.
It's so true, though. It's so true. I loved it.
Yeah.
All right. So, are there any other games like from that 1 o'clock slate that you wanted to chit chatter about before we move on to our afternoon slate of games? More specifically, the thrashing that the Saints put on the Packers.
I do want to mention
Because I really want to talk about that.
I do want to mention real quick. Joe Mixon had 100 yards on the ground today. Workhorse season is on the way. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. He had 100
I'm not
yards
buying
today.
it.
Buy
I'm not
it.
buying it.
It's
I'm not
cheap.
buying it.
Buy it.
Not buying it. It is cheap.
on
You're right. I
clearance.
should just because it's so cheap. Oh, I
It's on
do love a
clearance.
good sale. I do love a good. Although Joe Mixon is probably not on sale now because of that game, but I'll believe it when I see it. This is year 5. Step it up, my friend. It's about time. But I don't believe it. I'm not getting behind it. This is going to be a pass first game. I think he'll do well, but I don't think it's going to be like the second coming of McCaffrey.
It's coming. I'm chugging for it. Mixing season.
No, No Mixon season. Okay, can we talk about the Saints yet? Because I'm really excited to talk about the
let's
Saints.
do it. Let's do it.
Okay. I said on the show that I had a bold prediction that Jameis Winston was not going to throw a touchdown, or I'm sorry, an interception touchdown. That would be sad. Was not going to go throw an interception for the first 4 weeks.
I remember that.
And technically, he still did not, because his one interception was called back because of roughing the passer, which was not really roughing the passer.
Yeah,
I mean, if you look up, if you look up how to properly tackle in the NFL, you will see a shot of that tackle on Jameis Winston. It was clean. It was a hard hit, but it was perfect. But I still get my pride of maybe waiting 3 more weeks for that interception so I can make my bold prediction come through.
He was very cautious. I'm going to say that. When he was aggressive downfield, it was spot on. Like, that's the thing. All his deep shots were spot on, and they ended up either in touchdowns or a really good passing play that was like 15 plus yards. And I definitely think Winston balling out today with 5 touchdowns, he's putting all the haters on notice. We knew he can do this. We knew he can air the ball out. So I definitely think Sean Payton is tapping into Winston's abilities and using him the correct way. It's not a Bruce Arians, air raid, aggressive downfield where you throw the ball 57 times. Jameis Winston is making great decisions and making those decisions downfield where they end up being points on the board. And that's exactly what we saw today out of Sean Payton and Winston.
Yeah, and Alvin Kamara looked great too. So there's people are always worried about Alvin Kamara with this change at quarterback without Drew Brees. He looked fantastic. And then the Juwan Johnson situation. So last year, he was a wide receiver. But this year, he's a tight end. And apparently he is really good at the position, and Jameis Winston really likes him. He scored 2 touchdowns. Is that week 1 craziness, or is that someone that we should be running to the waiver wire to look to stash and possibly stream?
With him being a tight end, I'm stashing, honestly.
I agree.
Because we have to remember, Winston loved Cameron Brate when he was with the Tampa Bay Bucks. And it was annoying because O.J. Howard was there. But we're like, why is Cameron Brate getting so many targets? It's like, what's going on? This could literally be Cameron Brate 2.0. So, I'm going to stash him on the waiver, 100%.
I like that. And Winston is one of those quarterbacks that when he makes a connection with a wide receiver or a tight end, any pass catcher, he's going to find them and he is going to target them. So that to me says volume. So I really like that for Juwan Johnson, which is crazy. We now have a new tight end in the mix that nobody was ever talking about because we didn't know he was a tight end.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Danny Amendola, he signed on Wednesday. It was like, oh my God, Danny. It's like a really good friend I haven't seen in forever.
Making plays.
That was crazy. That whole game was nuts. I absolutely loved it. Let's touch on that one.
The thing is, it's like he can always ball. Like, he's one of those players that he signs and he just picks up the playbook and just balls out. I definitely think, Danny Amendola was a great signing. Definitely a great weapon.
I love it. Okay, back to the Packers and Saints, because I am using my phone now to check my scores so that the website doesn't yell at me and telling me about skincare, because apparently it's trying to tell me something. My skin is fine, cover girl. Leave me be. Oh, I can't with all the pressure. But what happened to Aaron Rodgers? Like, where did he go? Is he still in Hawaii with Shailene Woodley? Because that is really messed up.
He's making a statement. I think he's doing it on purpose. You
think so?
He was so disinterested.
Muy caliente, LaQuan. Explain yourself, sir.
I think he did it on purpose. It was just sad to watch because there was a lot of decisions he was making. There was the one interception where he didn't even flinch. Like, his facial expression was like, okay, all right. Like, okay, sure, whatever. And then the one ball that Adams dropped, like, he showed some emotion, but he didn't want Adams to be the beneficiary of the fault of that play. He kind of just was like, oh, like, what's going on with you, man? Like, I know what's going on with me, but what's going on with you?
I know what my problem is. Don't know what your problem is.
I know you're in the middle of a contract as well, but I'm trying to get you paid. But I definitely think Aaron Rodgers had an off game. It was not his best. It wasn't anything that he could do, honestly. It just, the receivers weren't getting open. Receivers were dropping passes. It was just ugly. It was very ugly.
It was so gross. He had, I'm just going to check my stats here. He went 28 attempts. Let's see, 15 completions from Aaron Rodgers. Like, what? And it was 133 yards and 2 interceptions. 2 interceptions against 30 for 30 Jameis Winston, who did not throw one. That was so weird.
He had a Marcus Mariota game or something. That was disgusting.
That is so true. Oh my God, that is like a really, that's a
That's for
really
like
good
spot
one.
on stats
It
right there
totally
for
is.
Marcus Mariota like 3 years ago. It's
Oh my God.
disgusting.
I love that. What did you think about Trevor Lawrence and his debut?
I was very annoyed the first half. It was slightly disappointing because Urban Meyer was doing a lot of things that were annoying a lot of fantasy managers and
College
a lot
stuff?
of a lot of college stuff was going on. But more likely, Trevor Lawrence cleaned up. He cleaned up well. Marvin Jones ended up finding the end zone, Chark twice, I believe. And I think he was able to spread the ball around. Laviska Shenault didn't have too much of a big game, but he served his purpose to stretch the field, play diversions, pass blocking, et cetera, et cetera. So I definitely think Lawrence cleaned up in the back half. But more importantly, I want to touch on that running back situation real quick. Like, what was going on? How many
I don't know.
people was a smash on James Robinson, going crazy on the worst defense in the league? It was
Yeah.
depressing to see that Carlos Hyde was splitting the same amount of carries as him. It doesn't make
And
sense.
yeah, and like so James Robinson was one of my like smash auto starts, like don't worry about him because he's
Yep.
going to be your safety security blanket and it just made me into a liar and I don't like to I mean, I
Thank you,
will
Urban Meyer.
lie
You
on
made all the
purpose.
flyers.
But thank you for making me look like an absolute idiot. So appreciate you. Not at all, Urban Meyer. That was very disappointing with that running back room. I agree with you. I'm worried that this is going to be a trend. I know it's only week one, and week one is always weird, but that is something I'm going to be keeping my eye on with that running back room. If it's going to
Yeah.
be that true
I think
committee,
it is. Urban
and
Meyer and
that's
Carlos Hyde
scary.
have that relationship. They have a prior
They
relationship.
do.
Carlos Hyde is still a good running back. I don't think people realize that. He's only one season removed from 1,000 yards with the Texans. I think
It's
we
true.
kind of should have felt this coming, but
Yeah, I think it was
disappointing.
more just the age of Carlos Hyde. It's like the Frank Gore esque, like he never
Yeah,
goes
he's the
away. But
pest.
he,
Exactly. He's the
and he's so
pest.
fantasy annoying. Like I don't like fantasy annoying players. Like I like Carlos Hyde because I think he's super cool, but I don't like fantasy annoyance. That worries me, and that I cannot give
Just wait
accurate.
until Duke Johnson gets involved.
If as long as Duke Johnson is not on the same team as
Just
David
wait.
Johnson, and my life is ruined with all the D Johnsons, and then like somehow they all end up with Deontay Johnson on the same, then I'm fine. Then I'm absolutely fine.
This is
And
definitely
all the
fun.
Williams, all the Jay Williamses, they
Yeah.
need to be on different teams as well, just to make my life a little bit easier. Okay, so speaking of rookie quarterbacks, what about Mac Jones? That was an interesting
Mm,
debut from him as
return of the
well.
Mac. He
I
looked
know.
good. He looked good. I definitely think, he stepped up. He was able to target Henry. He was able to target Smith. They didn't have really big gains, but overall, I think they were serving their purpose. Jacoby Myers had me a little upset dropping 2 passes, but he should have
Agreed.
had a better game as well. But I think moving forward, that running game, I think Mac can lean on. Harris looked amazing. So I definitely think, Stevenson, he came in first snap, fumbled the ball. That was very unfortunate, but it's a rookie first game, week one. Let's not overreact. I think that running game is strong. And with a strong running game, Mac Jones can be able to do anything. The sky's the limit.
Yeah, he looked very calm. He looked very poised, very
Yeah.
old soul.
He
He
didn't
also
even want the
connected with,
first touchdown. He didn't even want the ball. He's like, don't give
yeah,
it to me.
yeah,
Like
he's like, no, I'm
that's
good.
that's that's the attitude I want from my quarterback,
He's
honestly.
so Bill Belichick. Like he really is. Like
Yeah.
he's so very Bill Belichick. But he
Yeah.
also connected with James White on a deep pass too, which was pretty
Yeah.
awesome. So it looks like he's going to be incorporating a lot of those weapons that are around him. But what
Yeah.
really made sense to me is that those running backs still had their own very solid identity, and there wasn't
Yes.
a lot of crossover, which I never really like. Okay, one last game I do want to touch on here before I allow you to speak, sir, is I want to talk about this Browns Chiefs game.
Yes.
What? Oh my gosh! Like,
I
okay,
blame Baker. I blame Baker.
everyone should blame Baker, but the Browns are for
Wow.
real. It was a really, really good game,
Yeah.
and the Browns had a 15-3 lead going into the second quarter, and Patrick Mahomes is going to do as Patrick Mahomes does. And he got Travis Kelce involved, Tyreek Hill involved. Obviously, Clyde
Yep.
Edwards-Helaire was involved. And they ended up coming back. And then this went down all the way to the bitter, bitter end. Kareem Hunt busts off like a 22-yard run for the first down. They're looking at a minute 30 left to go. And then Baker Mayfield's like, ah! And then,
Panic.
throw it away.
Apparently, he was trying to throw the ball over the receiver, but yeah, that didn't happen.
That's what I think about that.
That was terrible. That was such a terrible throw. It
He
was so
knew it too.
unnecessary, though. It was just like, oh man. Just throw it to the ground or something. Like over.
But
I don't
and
want to.
as big as the mistake was, obviously this was the game losing mistake.
Yeah.
What they showed throughout that entire game, they're legit. I'm acting like I had this ginormous
And they
party at my
don't
house,
need
but like,
Odell Beckham.
hey, you be quiet. He was inactive. Okay,
Oh my
whatever.
God.
I
Surprise,
know.
surprise.
I know it's true, but one game I'll be able to rub it in your face. One of these days I'll be able to do it. But yeah, whatever. But they're legit. They are for real. And another friend at our house is a huge Steelers fan, so of course he did not like this game at all because
No.
the Browns looked legit, and that's just one mistake. Granted, it was a big one, but I didn't see many other mistakes from Baker Mayfield throughout that game. In fact, their first 3 and out was in the fourth quarter. And that was the first time the kid had ever punted that game in the NFL, and he dropped it. I mean, like, what do you expect? There's a lot of pressure on this kid. That's how good this game was. Very few mistakes. It was powerhouse offense on both sides, and the defense was stepping up to the ball. That was my favorite game of this entire Sunday afternoon.
Yes, it was electric.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy.
I really wish they would have came out to win, but they did not. So
it seems like they're cursed. It's like the Chargers curse or something.
Let's get into that game. Chargers versus Washington.
Can we not? Because I don't like how that went down because I love Ryan Fitzpatrick and
Herbert
he's hurt.
struggled. Yeah. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is serious hip injury. No time frame on how long he's going to be out, but that was very unfortunate. But Taylor Heineke showed up. He was able to target Terry McLaurin. The first half, Terry McLaurin had 0 targets, but as soon as Heineke came in, stuff started flowing. So I definitely feel hopeful for that offense moving forward. Gibson, he had some jitters where he had a fumble and he was looking electric, but then slowed down after a while. And JD McKisson was not involved as much as we thought he would be involved. But hey, it is what it is. But on the Charger side of the ball, Herbert did struggle a little. And I'm not too surprised because Washington's defense and their secondary was playing lights out last season. So I think that was carrying over to this season. But I also want to shout out Mike Williams, proving me wrong. He had a huge game. He was ending up showing out on the end zone. And I don't know, man. It's just a different swagger with him. So hopefully he can get more than 49 catches this year.
They actually moved him a little. I think it was Mike Williams. They moved him into the slot this year, as opposed to playing like just primarily out wide. They moved him into the slot to get him more involved because he is such a beast of a human being. He's gigantic, and he's another one that like just makes these acrobatic catches, and he's like, I have no care about my body, break my ribs, and
I'll land on my neck.
He's like, he's like, oh, whoops, ouch, I broke every bone in my body. But he plays balls to the wall. He's absolutely great. And on a serious note, I need to apologize to everybody that I said to play Justin Herbert. I had a lot of faith in him.
I did too.
I was really wrong, and I am so sorry
he struggled.
that I did that. He was bad. So I apologize from the depths of my soul. I did get some other ones right, which I was really happy about because that made me feel a little bit better when I watched Herbert crash and burn. But if it makes anyone feel better who did start Justin Herbert over Jalen Hurts, I'm so sorry. I also started Justin Herbert. So fear not, we shall be in this pain together.
Yes.
Yeah. Fantasy football is so much fun.
No, it's not. It's painful.
Oh, it's hard, right? It's impossibly hard. So did I miss anything here, LaQuan? I probably did. It's likely. Highly likely.
Cardinals? Did we talk Cardinals?
I don't think we talked Cardinals Titans.
Christian Kirk.
Where have you been? Hi.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. 2017 called. Where were you?
his league exposure is at 20% right now. I'm pretty sure by the end of the week it'll be high 55%.
Huge waiver wire darling.
Yeah, he showed up today, and it was likely that he was going to show up. At AJ Green was very underwhelming. He had like 4 for 6, and it wasn't big yards, but it's week 1, no overreaction. I'm still pumping for AJ Green, but D-Hop making some circus catches as usual. He is just amazing. Kyler looking good, but let's touch on the running backs real quick as well. Chase Edmonds was out there balling, but James Conner is a little too much involved. This is what's probably like pulling me back, pumping the brakes on Chase Edmonds. They both had great games. They both were strong runners. I definitely think, James Conner's usage in the red zone is a little uncomfortable, as Chase Edmonds is a lot of people's RB2s. So that's where I'm like pulling back a little bit on the hype train for Chase Edmonds, because James Conner was just used way too many times in the red zone where he could take a lot of touches that turned into touchdowns.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And for the Cardinals defense, they really stepped up to the plate, and they just
Chandler Jones.
what and like and JJ Watt. Yeah,
Yes.
JJ Watt. So there was this one play that Derrick Henry, JJ Watt got him like by his aura and like just tackled him right right when they were in the end zone, and he literally saved a touchdown. Ryan Tannehill did end up running in the football, but they stopped Derrick Henry. He was not as overwhelming as we really wanted him to be. They bottled up Julio Jones, and they made life hard for Ryan Tannehill. It says a lot about their defense, which that was the thing that most surprised me out of that matchup, was how well they stuffed them.
They had Julio off of his game as well. I think a lot of that played into the lack of chemistry he has with Tannehill, because some of the drops he had were just like, man, they hit you in the hands. What's going on? So I think it was more so a timing issue with him and Tannehill, which I think will improve throughout the season. Because again, it's week one. I'm not overreacting over Julio, because Julio's still Julio.
Yep. And speaking of amazing wide receivers, Tyler Lockett. I love this because the hype has been all around DK Metcalf, right? And when you're looking at those wide receivers, to me, this is like a 1A, 1B situation. And both of those receivers can switch that A and B spot. So when I was in my drafts, I avoided DK Metcalf because they just paid Tyler Lockett a ton of money, but you could also get him way later in the draft. So I went and I targeted Tyler Lockett in a lot of places, and I'm very glad that I did. 2 touchdown day to that guy, as well as Gerald Everett, the tight end, getting involved. That was a deep sleeper tight end that several of us have brought up to be like, keep your eye on that. And sure enough, he found the end zone.
Yeah. So hopefully next week he doesn't put up 4 points, but I definitely get that they can switch at any time. So I think Tyler Lockett made a statement today that I am the wide receiver one, because at the half, DK Metcalf didn't have a target. So I think they went into halftime, came out, DK ended up starting to get involved, which is good. But that slow start will have me on the rocks if I'm paying like wide receiver 3, price tag in the drafts.
Yeah. And one last game here, speaking of slow starts, and then we'll wrap this up, everybody, because we have more football, which is super exciting. Speaking of slow starts, Steelers and Bills.
Yes.
Snooze. That was the biggest snooze fest I've ever seen in my life. And again, I watched the red zone. So like, not only did I not see the Cardinals, I'm like, aren't the Steelers and the Bills playing? Because I never saw what was going on. It was like 0-3 forever.
I'm usually excited to watch Josh Allen play, but I was very disappointed with his struggling. And
Agreed.
TJ Watt was making huge impact after being paid like $1 trillion. And I think that defense was able to basically stop all the rushing attempts that Josh Allen would usually have. And Devin Singletary, he actually not impressed me, but anything, the word that's under that, he actually did okay.
Press is a little too strong.
Yeah, it's a little too much. He did okay. So I definitely think, Zach Moss being a healthy scratch gave him opportunity to take advantage to be the sole back. Matt Breida didn't do a dent to anything, not that I thought he would, but Singletary actually did okay. He did his job.
He didn't suck.
Yeah, he did his job today. Let's just say that.
He didn't suck. Yeah.
Josh Allen, he sucked today. He sucked.
Yeah. Najee Harris was another one that really didn't get a lot of steam going there, but that was kind of to be expected with the Steelers offensive line. It's still a little bit early because I know we touched on Deontay Johnson, but he did come back in the game and score a touchdown because he's the target monster.
I think with Harris, though, what we liked was the volume. He had majority of the snaps. He had, most of the carries, if not all the carries. So I definitely think that's promising going forward to know that he's going to be great in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that's it for me recapping our Sunday fun day. And it really was, you know what? I think next Sunday shirt is going to say Sunday fun day because I do have one. This one is just a game day shirt. I know this is my game day shirt. I've been sweating in all day in Florida heat. Ugh. But we have still more to come. Our buddy Griff is going to break down the Monday night fantasy preview for you, prize picks, DFS, tons of stuff left to come from Griff. This was LaQuan in And Lauren, right over here, recapping your Sunday. It was an amazing week one. Everybody, don't forget, follow us on the Twitter machine. Follow us on Facebook. Actually, are we on Facebook? I don't think we are. You can follow me on Facebook, though, Stepmom
I'm
Lauren.
on Facebook.
I put all of our stuff out here. So make sure you
Piece.
follow us. Subscribe to us on YouTube. That's Mayo Media Network. We got everything. We have something coming out, I think, every single day of the week just for you guys. And that includes waivers. That includes your DFS. That includes prize picks. So many things. Also, don't forget to make sure for week 2, keep in mind that 7-Eleven challenge on your 5 over-unders for $7.11. If you're not in that 7-Eleven challenge, boo, I'm going to be talking about the leaderboard on Monday, which is tomorrow, today, whenever it is you're watching this show. Make sure you're subscribed to us, Mayo Media Network on YouTube. You can follow me at Stepmom Lauren LaQuan. Where can they find you, my friend?
At Real Deal Fantasy on Twitter and everywhere else on social media platforms.
Let's go. Happy week 1. Football is here. And I'm never going to bench Jameis Winston again. Ever. Bye. Bye.